Once upon a time, in the heart of a sprawling estate surrounded by dark, foreboding woods, lived two people who were as different as night and day. The first was the master of the house, a brooding, mysterious man named Alexander Ravenwood. Alexander was tall, with sharp features and piercing eyes that seemed to look right through you. He was known for his sharp wit, his insatiable thirst for knowledge, and his tendency to shut himself away from the world, spending hours locked in his study surrounded by books and strange, arcane artifacts. The second was the lady of the house, a young and beautiful woman named Isabella. Isabella was the very embodiment of light and life, with golden hair that flowed down her back in soft waves, and eyes that sparkled with a mischievous gleam. Despite her reputation as the belle of the ball, Isabella was restless and yearned for something more, something that lay just beyond the confines of her sheltered life. One day, while exploring the estate, Isabella stumbled upon Alexander's secret study and was immediately drawn to the strange and mysterious world he inhabited. Despite Alexander's initial reluctance to let anyone into his inner sanctum, Isabella's bright spirit and relentless curiosity eventually won him over, and the two of them began a forbidden, whirlwind romance. At first, Isabella and Alexander's love was like a fire that burned bright and hot, a brilliant beacon of light in the otherwise dark and foreboding world of the Ravenwood estate. However, their love was not meant to be easy, for Alexander was haunted by a dark and terrible secret. He had made a bargain with a powerful and malevolent entity, trading his soul for the knowledge and power he now possessed. The price of Alexander's pact was steep, and he was consumed by guilt and self-loathing. He was torn between his love for Isabella and the knowledge that his actions would ultimately lead to her destruction. Despite his reservations, however, Alexander found that he could not resist Isabella's fiery spirit, and he began to open up to her about his dark past and the weight of his terrible secret. Isabella was horrified by Alexander's revelation, but she was not about to give up on the love she had found. With a determination that burned bright, she set out to find a way to break the pact that Alexander had made and to save him from the fate that lay in store for him. She spent countless hours in the library, poring over ancient texts and seeking the knowledge she needed to help her love. Her efforts eventually paid off, and Isabella discovered an obscure ritual that could break Alexander's pact and free him from his dark fate. However, the ritual was fraught with danger and required the sacrifice of one who was pure of heart and true of spirit. With a heavy heart, Isabella realized that there was only one person who could complete the ritual and save Alexander herself. Isabella did not hesitate, and with a fierce determination, she began to prepare for the ritual. Alexander was horrified by what she was doing, but he was powerless to stop her. With tears streaming down her face, Isabella completed the ritual, and the entity that had claimed Alexander's soul was banished back to the underworld, freeing Alexander from its grasp forever. In the aftermath of the ritual, Alexander and Isabella were finally able to be together without fear. They spent their days exploring the estate and reveling in their love, and as the years passed, their love only grew stronger. However, the price of their victory was steep. Isabella's sacrifice had left her with a deep and abiding sadness that she could not shake, and Alexander was consumed with guilt for having put her in such danger. Despite this, they were determined to make the most of their time together and to build a life filled with love and happiness. Years passed, and the couple welcomed children into their lives. Alexander was a loving and devoted father, and Isabella's once restless spirit was contented by the love of her family. However, the shadow of their past still hung over them, and Alexander often found himself consumed by guilt and self-doubt. One day, as Alexander was lost in thought, he was suddenly struck by a bolt of inspiration. He realized that the love he and Isabella shared was the most powerful force in the world, and that it could conquer even the darkest of forces. With this realization, Alexander knew what he had to do. He gathered his family together and took them on a journey deep into the heart of the Ravenwood estate, to the very spot where he had made his pact with the malevolent entity all those years before. There, he stood before his family and declared that the power of their love would banish the dark forces that still lingered in the estate, once and for all. With that, Alexander and Isabella clasped hands, and their children joined hands with them. Together, they raised their voices in a song of love and hope, and as they sang, a brilliant light filled the clearing, banishing the shadows and the darkness forever. The Ravenwood estate was never the same again. The love of Alexander and Isabella and their children had triumphed over evil, and the estate was filled with light and life. Alexander and Isabella lived the rest of their lives in peace and happiness, surrounded by the love of their family and the memories of their victory over the forces of darkness. And so, their story became a legend that was passed down through the generations, inspiring others to believe in the power of love and the strength of the human spirit. It was a story of struggle and triumph, of desire and resolution, and of the ultimate victory of love over fear and darkness.